Throughout his presidency, Donald Trump described the investigation into his campaign's alleged ties to Russia as a hoax.
I call it the rigged witch hunt.
And now, recent developments in Special Prosecutor John Durham's investigation suggest Trump was right. The arrest of this man, Russian Igor Danchenko, a sub-source for the Steele dossier, suggests a possible DNC and Clinton campaign connection to Russia. So what does all this mean moving forward? Well, joining us is Peter Navarro, former assistant to President Donald Trump. Mr. Navarro is author of the new book, In Trump Time, a journal of America's plague year. Peter, it's a pleasure, sir, and I want to talk to you about your memoir in a moment. But first, we're not seeing much reporting about this recent Durham revelation, but the arrest is extremely significant. What do you make of it? What do you expect may happen next?
When the hoax took out Mike Flynn, he was the first national security advisor. That he directs the National Security Council. That set in motion the hiring prematurely of H.R. McMaster. McMaster was just a really bad fit for the Trump White House. We are economic nationalist populists. President Trump, America first. McMaster was a full-out globalist. But the other thing, Gary, and again, this is a subtle point I did talk about in Trump time, when a national security advisor comes in with a new administration, that NSC is staffed by detailees from the various agencies, right? And he always sends those people back and brings in people who are supportive of the incoming administration. Because of the Russia hoax, which Bull Durham is investigating, because of that, Flynn's get fired, McMaster comes in, he doesn't clean house, and we wind up down the road with yet another hoax, which was the impeachment hoax with people like Fiona Hill, who's part of that Russia hoax, and that Colonel Vindman.
Do you think any former DOJ officials, anyone else higher up in the food chain, so to speak, may be indicted? Your thoughts?
Brennan, Rubenstein, Page, Comey, Strzok, all of these people, Clapper, they knew what was going on at one point. They didn't disclose, and more importantly, a lot of them went out on TV and flat out lied to the American people. There's great FBI agents put their life on the line, and they deserve better than Brennan, Clapper, Page, Comey, Strzok, and all these people.
And I know in your book you write that Dr. Anthony Fauci, quote, did more damage to this nation, President Trump, and the world than anyone else this side of the Bat Lady of Wuhan. That's a quote. Many Americans seem to have lost confidence in Fauci. So do you think he should resign? And if so, why?
Well, I think he should be fired and he should go to jail. Let me tell you why. I've got behind me the Wuhan Institute of Virology. This thing moonlights as a bioweapons lab run by the People's Liberation Army. He knew that the virus came from Wuhan. He knew that it surfaced within yards of this building here. Therefore, he had a good suspicion that the virus came from the lab. What he didn't tell us is that his agency had also, I call this the Fauci wing here, his agency had also used your taxpayer dollars to fund these dangerous gain-of-function experiments that can turn a harmless bat virus into a human killer. Fauci had been advised by a prominent scientist at Scripps that this virus that has killed over 500,000 Americans was likely genetically engineered and therefore a bioweapon. So that Fauci lied to Rand Paul about gain-of-function experiments. For that alone, he should go to jail. Lying to Congress is a jailable offense. But Gary, the bigger lie of omission was not coming clean about Fauci's role in the research that took place that likely led to the pandemic. If he had simply told us that at that point in time, we would have had a different strategy, completely different strategy that would have saved millions of lives worldwide. One of the key missions of the In Trump Time book is to get that guy behind bars, strip him of his wealth in civil suits from the people who lost their loved ones because of Fauci.
Okay, I've got to ask you one more thing about the $1.2 trillion infrastructure bill and current supply chain slowdowns. You were an economic advisor to President Trump, so how would he have handled both issues differently? And what do you think might happen with the economy in the months ahead, especially as people lose their jobs for refusing to take the COVID vaccine?
Well, let's start with the bill that you referenced. I do wish people would stop calling it an infrastructure bill, because it's not. It's a faux infrastructure bill. It's only about 20% roads, bridges, and the kinds of things we need. And just by the way, when Biden's over here shutting down pipelines and wrecking our energy economy, yeah, people would like a new lane on the freeway. But if they got to pay $10 a gallon for gas, I think they might prefer something else than what they're getting. In terms of the supply chain crisis we're facing now, and it is a crisis, in the In Trump Time book, I describe how our focus was singularly on buy American, hire American. Bring the factories home, you bring the supply chains home, you have resilient supply chains. If you offshore our factories, the supply chains follow, and therefore you have fragile supply chains at best and broken supply chains at worst during the kind of situation we're in. You know, everybody watching this knows that if President Trump were in office, we wouldn't be facing any of this economic crisis that we're facing, either the inflation, stagflation, or our broken supply chains.
Well, we'll see what happens in 2022. Your book is In Trump Time, a Journal of America's Plague Year. Peter Navarro, thank you for sharing your time and insights. We appreciate it.
Gary, thanks so much for the time.